Hi, I'm Eric Kurland from 3D Space, the Center for Stereoscopic Photography, Art, Cinema, and Education. We're the Museum of 3D in Los Angeles. And I want to welcome you to this third installment of our online 3D screening series. Now, while we've had to temporarily close the museum until it's safe to have visitors again, and we're currently unable to hold our regular screenings in a movie theater, we can bring you these online shows of independent 3D films from the LA 3D Movie Fest. Now today, we'll be watching 5 award-winning films from the 14th annual LA 3D Movie Festival, which took place in December of 2017. And it featured 2 days of independent stereoscopic filmmaking from all around the world. Now we're going to start today's show with the winner of the award in our student film category. The film is Deadline the Magician by Andi Wenzel. It was produced as a master's degree thesis film at the Mainz University of Applied Sciences in Germany. And the film is a 3D music video for the song Deadline from the rock band January. It's shot in the style of film noir and graphic novels and tells the story of a famous magician eagerly looking for his helper and lover who disappeared without a trace decades ago after a failed magic trick. And next, we have 2 films which tied for the second place award, and both films are from director Robert Bloomberg. The City Quakes is a historical show featuring rare stereo images of the San Francisco earthquake and fire of 1906, as well as the 1989 Loma Prieta earthquake. And Stereo, a love song to 3D, is a musical tribute to classic 1950s 3D movies, featuring animation and video set to an original song written and performed by the filmmaker. Today's show concludes with 2 films by director Ikuo Nakamura, the recipient of the 2017 Ray Zone Award for Excellence in 3DIY for his body of work. Gentle Storm features stunning footage of the aurora borealis under a G2 geomagnetic storm. And the final film is ANITYA, which means impermanence in Sanskrit and is one of the essential Eastern philosophies. Shot in numerous locations around the world, this film compiles series of continuing human activity, a reminder that all temporal existence will be forgotten without exception. And it won the first place award in our festival. Now, YouTube has a real-time chat feature, and the filmmakers have been invited to join us here. So feel free to ask them any questions that you have in the chat, either during the film or we'll leave the chat running after the show. Now, you need 3D glasses to watch, and if you're watching the anaglyph stream, you need to make sure that you put the red lens in your glasses over your left eye. Okay, so why don't we get the show started?
Looks can be deceiving. The familiar outlines of our world appear permanent, but the Earth is actually a geological jigsaw of constantly moving plates floating on its surface. When these tectonic plates collide, they sometimes push up spectacular mountain ranges like the Himalayas, or they may just slip and slide against each other, causing all sorts of mischief. Two of the most active plates, the North American and the Pacific, meet in California, along the 750-mile San Andreas Fault. And in the middle of that fault, some of the more foolhardy inhabitants of our planet have chosen to build a city. San Francisco. It's always been a city of dreams and the occasional nightmare. From the moment James Marshall picked up that first gold nugget at Sutter's Mill in 1848, San Francisco began her swift transformation from a sleepy fishing village into one of the liveliest, bawdiest, and most infamous cities in America. Her siren's call of instant riches brought thousands to her shores. That constant flow of dreamers and schemers has never stopped. By 1906, San Francisco was a booming city, enjoying a decade of prosperity following the Depression of the mid-1890s. The population of the city had grown explosively, up 50% in just the past 5 years, to reach 500,000. The completion of the Transcontinental Railroad in 1869 had connected the city to the mainstream culture of the East, and San Francisco had become quite a cosmopolitan city. The wealth accumulated as a result of the gold rush created family fortunes and a social elite who enjoyed the opera, the theater, and elegant restaurants. Some of their names and the mansions they built are still familiar today: Charles Crocker, Mark Hopkins, and Leland Stanford. Of course, San Francisco did have another side, the wild legacy of the Barbary Coast, with its saloons, gambling houses, and brothels. Much of the city had been built of shoddy construction, thrown up in great haste to house the huge influx of fortune seekers. The city's most famous landmark was the Call Building, whose steel frame allowed it to tower 16 floors above Market Street. The first cable car, destined to become a more enduring symbol of San Francisco, was introduced in 1873. The Palace Hotel at Market and Montgomery was one of the world's largest and most luxurious. Its well-heeled clientele relaxed around the interior covered courtyard and were whisked to the upper floors in hydraulic elevators known as rising rooms. The Sutro Baths and the Cliff House, completed a decade before, offered a pleasure palace of dining, exotic exhibitions, stage shows, and a complex of 7 huge pools in which thousands could swim in salt or fresh water heated to various temperatures. Golden Gate Park, at the outskirts of the city, contained a conservatory, a bandstand, a Japanese tea garden, and a children's playground. But despite its idyllic appearance, San Francisco was no stranger to disaster. There had been a couple of strong quakes in the 1830s and again in the 1860s. Many of the hastily constructed buildings sat on some form of unstable landfill, composed of garbage, rotting wood, and even the remains of old sailing ships abandoned during the gold rush. But earthquakes weren't the biggest threat. San Francisco had been destroyed by fire 6 times before. Most of the houses were made of wood, many of redwood, thought to be slow burning. There were not enough fire hydrants, and the underground cisterns built to hold water stood rusted and empty in 1906. There was not a single fire station located among the overcrowded tenements of Chinatown. San Francisco was a tinderbox, just waiting for a match. Fire Chief Dennis Sullivan didn't think his department was equipped to handle a real disaster, but his attempts to call attention to the dangers were consistently ignored. However, on Tuesday morning, April 17th, the day before the quake, few residents were thinking about these problems. It was a clear day. Spring had arrived, and many people were out enjoying the fine weather. At City Hall, a meeting was underway. The main item of business? How to deal with future city emergencies. That evening, 3,000 enthusiastic fans filled the Grand Opera House to hear Enrico Caruso, the world's most famous tenor, sing the role of Don Jose in Bizet's Carmen. Caruso had almost canceled his tour because he was worried about his family back in Naples, endangered by the recent eruptions of Mount Vesuvius. Those with less highbrow tastes enjoyed a bit of ballroom dancing or spent a dime for an evening of vaudeville at the Orpheum. And of course, there were family events, such as this wedding banquet. But the next day was a work day, so most people retired early. For many, it would be the last good night's sleep they would get for a long time. The Great Quake struck the city in two stunning blows. The first blow was a violent shaking that lasted about a minute. One eyewitness account said it was like a terrier shaking a rat. After a 30-second lull, the earth moved for another minute in long, rolling waves that came from the west. It would have measured an 8.3 if the Richter scale had been invented, and it was felt as far north as Oregon and as far south as Los Angeles. In some places, the earth was displaced over 20 feet. A herd of cattle being unloaded at the waterfront when the quake hit stampeded in their panic down Mission Street and were crushed by falling buildings. Because of the early hour, there were few people out on the street to be killed by falling masonry. However, many buildings collapsed, killing countless in their beds. The 2 minutes of chaos must have seemed an eternity, followed by overwhelming relief when the earth finally stopped moving. But those more knowledgeable knew the destruction was just beginning. All across the city, gas lines burst and fuel tanks ruptured. Electrical poles broke like matchsticks, their wires arcing, sending sparks into the gas-filled air. Thousands of brick chimneys collapsed, throwing burning coals onto wooden floors. Oil lamps and candles overturned, starting countless small fires. Over 50 fires started in the first few hours, more than any fire department could have handled. Many were named for their origins: the San Francisco Gas and Electric Fire, the Chinese Laundry Fire, and the infamous Ham and Eggs Fire, started by a woman cooking breakfast. The fires grew and met and joined and grew yet again until there was a mile-long wall of flames. The fire department did its heroic best, but even those fire engines not buried by falling buildings were useless with most of the water mains broken. Fire Chief Sullivan had proposed a plan to draw water from the bay in just such an emergency, but it had never been implemented. Tragically, he was killed in the quake when the firehouse in which he lived collapsed. Dynamite crews destroyed buildings to create fire breaks in an attempt to stop the fires from spreading, but sometimes only made matters worse by starting new fires. For 3 days, the firestorm burned. The few hydrants that worked were no match for the inferno that destroyed 28,000 buildings. Firemen and volunteers worked round the clock to control the fires, but in most cases they were extinguished only when there was nothing left to burn. When they were finally out, the heart of San Francisco had been destroyed. The devastation covered 500 city blocks, over 4 square miles. It was the worst natural disaster in American history. The official death toll was listed at 478, so as not to scare off future investors. Historians today estimate that 3,000 to 5,000 people died, but we will never know the exact number. So many records were destroyed, and who knows how many bodies were cremated in fires that reached temperatures of 2,000 degrees. Half the entire population, nearly 250,000 people, were left homeless. City Hall, a mixture of bad cement and bad politics, had taken 26 years and 4 times the original estimate to build. It took less than 30 seconds to reduce it to a skeleton. Mayor Schmitz was part of that corrupt city government and was later indicted along with his cohorts on multiple counts of graft and corruption. But he proved a good administrator during the crisis, surprising not only his critics, but quite possibly the mayor himself. "Our fair city lies in ruins," he said at the time, "but those are the finest damn ruins ever seen on the face of the earth." Schmitz acted quickly to impose a curfew and, in effect, declare martial law. He ordered saloons closed indefinitely and prohibited all sales of liquor. Looters were to be shot on sight, and armed troops were dispatched to maintain order. The troops sometimes found it difficult to distinguish looters from residents trying to salvage their belongings, or the homeless just trying to survive. Local merchants, not realizing what would happen, opened red-hot safes in a frantic attempt to salvage their contents. The oxygen from the outside air caused cash, treasury bills, and negotiable securities to instantly burst into flames. Winches like these were used to demolish unstable buildings, although sometimes the job had to be done by hand, using ropes. One of the true miracles of the quake, the post office not only remained standing, but did not lose a single piece of mail in the disaster. The postmaster declared that all private letters would be delivered, even without postage. Many were hastily written on scraps of paper, cardboard, bits of newspaper, or the page of a book, anything to get the word out to loved ones far away. Other vital institutions continued to function as well. Because of the collapsed chimneys and the ever-present danger of fires, cooking stoves had to be moved into the streets. The first relief supplies of food and medicine arrived from Los Angeles within 18 hours of the quake. Worldwide sympathy brought many more donations in the weeks following: food, clothing, and $8 million in cash. Refugee camps and tent cities were set up to shelter the homeless. The camps were generally well-ordered communities, equipped with running water, bathhouses, sewers, and drains. There were no outbreaks of contagious disease. In fact, for many, living in the fresh air on rationed food and tobacco, without hard liquor, proved to be healthier than their former existence. Some fled the city, escaping the fires, the dynamite blasts, and the still falling buildings. They found shelter in other communities where there had been less damage and no fire. But most residents stuck it out, and with typical pioneering spirit and good humor, made the best of the situation. Makeshift tent kitchens named themselves after famous restaurants, like this unauthorized annex of the Palace Hotel Grill. The House of Mirth, advertised deluxe furnished rooms complete with elevator. At Stanford University, the statue of naturalist Louis Agassiz had fallen from its perch headfirst into the cement courtyard below, prompting the university president to remark that Agassiz was much better in the abstract than in the concrete. Thanks to the Telegraph, the world knew of the disaster immediately. News agencies recruited scores of reporters and photographers to cover the event. It was the first natural disaster to spark such a media frenzy. It was also the first to be extensively documented by amateurs, because Kodak had introduced its inexpensive Brownie camera just a few years before. And the stereo card companies sent photographers as well, to produce sets of cards for their popular stereograms, which were a typical evening's entertainment as television is today. These stereo views, like the ones in this show, brought the devastation into homes all over the country. An estimated 6.5 billion bricks fell during the earthquake and fire, and the job of clearing away the debris was said to require more labor than that of digging the Panama Canal. San Francisco had been destroyed by fire before and was accustomed to rebuilding. Refugee shacks replaced the tent cities and could be purchased for $100 or rented for $2 a month. Cable car service began again, and slowly, normal life resumed. Within 2 years, the city was largely rebuilt. 9 years later, the city would host the 1915 World's Fair, the Panama Pacific Exposition. But the most impressive exhibit of them all was San Francisco herself, risen like a proud phoenix from the rubble and ashes. The Palace of Fine Arts, designed by Bernard Maybeck for the celebration, is all that remains today of that 300-acre wonderland. Damage from the quake and fire and the cost of removing the debris was estimated to be in the billions of dollars. Much of the rubble was used as landfill to create the Marina District, with consequences that would be felt 83 years later. At 5 p.m., Game 3 of the World Series between the San Francisco Giants and the Oakland A's was just getting underway at Candlestick Park.
Fails to get Dave Parker at second base, so the Oakland A's take. I'll tell you what, we're having an earthquake.
The quake lasted for 15 seconds and measured 7.1 on the Richter scale. A portion of the San Francisco-Oakland Bay Bridge collapsed. In Oakland, part of the Nimitz Freeway was severely damaged. Normally, both the Bay Bridge and the Nimitz would have been crowded with commuters during the evening rush hour. But with 2 local teams slugging it out in the World Series, most people had left work early to watch the game. Nevertheless, the greatest loss of life occurred on the Nimitz when a mile-long, twin-decked section known as the Cypress structure collapsed. The reinforcement rods in the cement columns holding the upper deck snapped, sending the deck crashing down on the cars below. 42 people died here. The Oakland Fire Department, with the help of volunteers, hand-carried lengths of rope through the narrow gap of the sandwiched freeway to plot the location of each trapped car. Corresponding spots were then marked on the top deck, where rescue crews began cutting through the thick concrete to the cars below. Lifts were used to help locate victims, and the locations marked with spray paint to aid rescue workers. Another post office miracle. The driver of this mail truck walked away unhurt. Crews then blowtorched the sides open, retrieved, and delivered the mail. No one was in this car, which had been parked under the freeway overnight. Unfortunately, the occupants of this car were killed. But the luckiest person of all was surely the driver of this truck, who was traveling on the lower deck of the freeway when the quake hit. He described seeing the upper deck collapsing towards him like a house of cards, looking in his rearview mirror and seeing the same scene behind him. He slammed on his brakes and came to a screeching halt in the only section of freeway left standing. Meanwhile, over in the marina, remember that prime waterfront real estate built on landfill from the 1906 quake? When the '89 quake hit, that landfill behaved as if it were liquid, providing little support for the structures built on it. Houses folded like accordions. This used to be a 3-story apartment. Many houses were built above fragile garages, unable to withstand the force of the quake. The garages were so shaky that most people weren't allowed in to remove their cars. Some houses had to be propped up to keep them from falling into the street. As in 1906, both gas and water mains were severed. 27 fires broke out throughout the city, but the worst was in the marina. The hydrants lacked water pressure, but the fireboat Phoenix was able to pump 5.5 million gallons of water from the bay. This time, San Francisco was not consumed by flames. With water mains broken, residents had to carry in bottled water to drink. Those few people who were allowed to go into their buildings had only 15 minutes to save what possessions they could carry out by hand. This marina resident was sitting on what was left of her car. She asked for a photo to show her insurance company. The epicenter of the quake was in the Santa Cruz Mountains near Loma Prieta Peak, approximately 100 miles south of San Francisco. Homes in that area were knocked completely off their foundations. The corner support of this house is the only section still on its original level. In this area as well, broken gas and electrical lines and the resulting fires were responsible for much of the damage. This downtown Santa Cruz boutique couldn't have anticipated the irony of its sales slogan. Temporary shelters and tent cities were set up to house the 12,000 people left homeless. The cypress structure has been demolished, the Bay Bridge repaired, and the marina rebuilt on the same unstable ground. Once again, San Francisco has survived. If you know where to look, there are still poignant reminders of the great earthquake and firestorm of 1906. A plaque at the Bush Street Fire Station commemorates Chief Sullivan, whose warnings might have saved the city. The fire hydrant at the corner of 20th and Church, one of the few that worked during the disaster, receives a fresh coat of gold paint every April 18th. The Call building, taller by 2 stories and missing its distinctive dome, still sits on the corner of 3rd and Market. 23 of those $100 earthquake shacks still exist, although they're worth quite a bit more today. This house in the Sunset District incorporates 4 in its patchwork design. The graceful columns that once framed the entry to the town mansion on Nob Hill were all that remained of it after the disaster. They are now known as the Portals to the Past and can be found in a melancholy setting in Golden Gate Park. In 1906, Lotta's Fountain became the meeting place for survivors, where the names of the dead, the missing, and the found were posted. It still stands, as does the Palace Hotel across Market Street. Each year, in that early hour before dawn on the anniversary of the quake, it has become a tradition for survivors to gather there again, though their numbers dwindle every year. The San Andreas Fault continues to move at the same rate that your fingernails grow, about 2 inches a year. At that rate, Los Angeles will be a suburb of San Francisco in a mere 5 million years. But seismologists tell us we won't have to wait that long for the next big quake. An incredible amount of pressure and energy is stored within the rocks, just waiting for release. The odds are 2 to 1 that release will happen in the next 25 years, producing an earthquake of at least 6.7 magnitude. So why do we stay here? Is it the incomparable beauty of the landscape? The charm of the city itself? Or are we just the descendants of those adventurous pioneers and gamblers, defying the odds and living on the edge?
I was raised in the Arctic by polarized bears on a diet of overripe stereo pears. They left me by the snack bar under the stairs at the 3D drive-in movie. And there each night by the moonlight gleam and the comfort and warmth of the popcorn machine, I learned about life from up on the screen and a cashier name of Ruby. Stereo, stereo, put on your glasses and away we go. 1 for the money, 2 for the show, 3 for the D in stereo. Oh, 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 oh. Now I'm a man on a dangerous mission on the night flight to Tangier, sitting next to the mad magician. All the stewardesses fear. They're those redheads from Seattle trying to give me that old French line. But I'm a man in the dark with a telltale heart and one thing on my mind. It's stereo, stereo. Put on your glasses and away we go. 1 for the money, 2 for the show, 3 for the D in stereo. Oh, 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 oh. Boy, the devil made me do it. Got me living in a house of wax with a feather river running through it, an inferno out in back. I've turned it to the robot monster. I'm the creature from the Black Lagoon, running through the maze for the rest of my days, chasing cat women on the moon. In stereo, stereo, put on your your glasses and away we go. 1 for the money, 2 for the show, 3 for the D in stereo. Oh, 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 oh. When my movie's over, here's what you can do for me. Just spread my ashes on 3D glasses and toss them in the red and blue sea in stereo, stereo. Put on your glasses and away we go. 1 for the money, 2 for the show, 3 for the D in stereo, stereo, stereo. There ain't no finer way to go than coming right at ya through the window. Is that a lion in your lap, or you just glad to see me? 3 for the D in stereo. Whoa, 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 whoa.
I love doing these shows on YouTube live. You never know what's going to happen. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's program. I really want to thank all of the filmmakers who participated. I'm so glad that they were able to be here in the chat. Andi, Bob, and Ikuo are going to stick around. We'll leave the chat open for a little while afterwards, maybe 15 minutes or so. So if you have any questions, you can continue chatting away in there. But I want to thank them for allowing us to show their work. And I want to thank all of you, our audience, who joined in. 3D Space is a donation-based nonprofit, and we rely on your support to keep us going. We want to continue bringing shows like this from our archive. And with your help, we'll be able to maintain the archive and reopen the doors to the 3D Museum when it's safe. Now, if you'd like to support us with a donation or join our mailing list to keep updated on future events, we've set up a special link to our website at la3d.space. That's la3d.space. Now, before I go, I want to wish my dad a happy Father's Day. So thanks again for joining me here today, and I really look forward to showing everyone more films soon. Till next time.